What's the difference between a gross misdemeanor and a misdemeanor? This is a question that I get a lot. In Minnesota, we classify crimes in the following levels: a misdemeanor, which is the lowest type of crime there is, a gross misdemeanor, and then a felony. So a gross misdemeanor is one step under a felony. A misdemeanor is punishable by a maximum of 90 days in jail and a $1,000 fine. Those are the most the judge can give you if you're convicted or you plead guilty to a misdemeanor. For a gross misdemeanor, the most a judge can give you is 1 year in jail and a $3,000 fine. There's also some other important differences. One is with how long a judge can put you on probation. For a misdemeanor, the most a judge can put you on probation is 2 years. The most a judge can put you on for probation in a gross misdemeanor is 4 years. So there's a longer probationary period for gross misdemeanors. Some examples of misdemeanors in Minnesota would be your first time DWI in most cases, as well as your first time domestic assault or a regular assault or disorderly conduct. Some examples of gross misdemeanors would be your second or third DWI in most cases, or your second time you've been convicted of domestic assault, and there's a whole lot of other crimes that fall into either misdemeanors or gross misdemeanors, but those are a couple examples. What commonly happens with misdemeanors and gross misdemeanors, unless you're a career criminal, is that a lot of times if you plead guilty to that and you're sentenced to a gross misdemeanor or a misdemeanor, a judge will not give you the full 90 days for a misdemeanor or the full 1 year for a gross misdemeanor, but they'll give you some sort of punishment and then do what's called stay the rest of the time, or hang it over your head while you're on probation. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that you've got a first-time assault case, and it's a misdemeanor assault, and the judge wants to give you 10 days of jail. What they'll do is then they'll sentence you to, say, 30 or 90 days. Let's say they give you a 90-day sentence. They'll stay 80 days, which means they'll hang 80 days over your head on probation for up to 2 years. You'll do your 10 days of jail, and then you've got 80 days hanging over your head, so that if you violate probation by getting another crime within a 2-year period, or you don't do some of the other conditions that the judge wants you to do, like take an anger management class or pay your fines and do those things, the judge has a right, if they prove that you violated probation by not listening to the judge's orders or by getting a new crime, then the judge can send you away to jail again for that remaining 80 days, plus whatever new punishment you have for the new crime. So that's the danger in being on probation, and that's what makes a huge difference between the gross misdemeanors and misdemeanors, is that, number one, for a gross misdemeanor, the judge has a lot longer to keep you on probation, and therefore it's much more likely that you're going to be charged with a crime in a 4-year period than you could be in a 1 or 2-year period. And then second, the amount of time you're facing. If you foul up when you're on probation on a gross misdemeanor, if the judge sends you away for 30 days and hangs 335 days over your head, now you can go away for 335 days if you violate probation, so it's much more serious. The other thing you got to look out for is employment. Some employers care more, obviously, about gross misdemeanors than they do misdemeanors, so a gross misdemeanor is not a good thing to have on a record. Not that a misdemeanor is a great thing to have on your record, but a gross misdemeanor makes it that much more difficult to get other jobs out there. And those are the main differences between a misdemeanor and a gross misdemeanor. If you have other questions, you can find me on my website at arrestedminnesota.com. It's www.arrestedmn.com. Or call me at 612-339-5844, 612-339-5844, and my name's Ryan Pacyga. Bling.